you are the most important person in the post-exit world, in my opinion, because you came a few years ago and created this incredible post-exit founder community, PEF, which disrupted the whole post-exit world, which was very fragmented and disorganized and didn't even exist as a world, to be honest. And I know because, as you know, by the time you created the community, I had been in that post-exit world for over 10 years. And during that time, I basically felt extremely lonely. I made every possible mistake because there was nobody else to learn from around me. I blamed myself for all these mistakes. So my confidence, my self-esteem went down. And then I finally realized maybe 5-6 years in that I really needed peers around me. And I started painstakingly looking for them around the world. And that took so much effort, so much time. And then when we first met a few years ago, I told you right away that I was so happy that you created the community because it changed everything. So since then, the PEF has grown even more, has created so much value for all of us. And I want us to start talking about that. Then later we'll talk about you and what you're doing now and the lessons you personally learned along the way.
That sounds great. Firstly, thank you for the kind words about PEF. I definitely don't believe that I am the most important person. In some ways, the whole goal of like building this community and network is that it is not about me. I created this spiral that kept it going. And so PEF, Post-Exit Founders, it's this community and this network of exited founders to really learn from each other, to create the space in which people can deeply connect. PEF started about 4 years ago now, shortly after I exited my company. If I reflect back on a lot of my life, not just professional life, but personal life, community has been a core part of what's grounded me and helped me through some of life's biggest challenges. I'd say the highs and the lows. Community has always been there for me. And so every step that I've taken professionally or personally, I've always sought out that community of folks that I can actually learn from. And usually I try to find the people that are slightly ahead of where I am, not too far ahead where it's hard for them to almost go back and empathize and connect, enough ahead where they remember the challenges that they went through and can actually share their real experience, not even advice. I just like to learn from the data points of what have others done and how they have done it. I was just calling a handful of exited founder friends and mentors for advice, people that I respected who were a little bit ahead. I selfishly was thinking, how much easier would it be if instead of having to call John and calling David and calling Samantha, I just had all of them in the same group chat to just post a question and see what they would respond. And so I asked 10 or 12 of these like founders and mentors and advisors of mine if they would be interested in meeting each other. And they all said yes. So I put them in a group chat. And I hoped it would turn into something larger. And I had no intention of it becoming what it's become. 4,800 members now. We have about 200 to 250 new members joining every month. The only way to get into the community is to get referred into the community. I've never marketed it. That's probably the most I've ever spoken about the community right now. You hear about it from another friend and they're like, oh, you should join PEF. Like, what's PEF? And that's what's created this viral loop. Apparently means to me something that's just like deeper. There is this level of like trust and vulnerability of the people that you can be with. We want to maximize our impact of the people that we can touch, and also we believe help members themselves by learning from an increasing new and growing amount of other exited founders that have their own paths and journeys.
I think that PEF stands out with its very unique DNA in how, and I think that when I met you, I thought, oh, of course, that's just Barak's DNA. And it's so beautiful to see, because when we found a company, oftentimes the company reflects who we are. And there are things that are very unique. Like, for example, there's so much kindness and lack of judgment and lack of ego in the PEF. So if somebody joins and they are not necessarily at this level of kindness and goodness as you are and some other PEFs are, they naturally get very inspired and drawn to it, and they grow into better people. That's what I've seen in the last few years, and that's why people don't leave, right? You actually become a better person by being at the PEF.
It's definitely what we aspire to inspire, right? One interesting new challenge we have is I don't think that you can have a 5,000 person community. And I would love for that to be true with 5,000 people. And we do everything we can to create that environment. So we had to ask ourselves the question, probably a year or two ago already, do we want to cap the size, which I think would be a perfectly logical decision, to say we want to keep this core, trusted, vulnerable, special community the way that it is, where people really get a chance to just go deeper with each other rather than more people joining?
Yeah.
Or do we want to maximize our impact of the people that we can touch, and also we believe help members themselves by learning from an increasing new and growing amount of other exited founders? And when we chose the latter, to allow the growth to just continue, again, only referral based, never through marketing, but to allow that to grow, we began to think about PEF as less of a community and more of a network, and that our goal is to build the communities within that network. And that's where we really spend our time now. How do you get the right group of people that could connect around the right shared experience, or they're in the same geography together, or whatever it might be, to meet each other, to support each other, to be vulnerable with each other, to push through together? That's how we think about it. So network, and then kind of communities within that network.
It sounds like a great approach to me. Lots of challenges along the way. It's a social network. It's almost a dating network.
Yeah. We've had quite a few members that have asked for a dating.
Well, of course, because so many companies now have co-founders who met at the PEF. I know lots of those.
Yeah.
Right? That's how they met.
And that's co-founders. What about life partners, right? So like we've had quite a few post-exit founders that, honestly, like if you think about the typical journey, you're so busy building, devoting yourself to whatever that company was, that sometimes, your love life or your, life partnerships, your sex life, all of it actually gets kind of put to the side. And all of a sudden you wake up and you're, whatever stage of life, whether age or wherever you are in life, and you start to think about the things that you want. And maybe it's companionship, maybe it's kids, maybe it's just fun, but you're looking for other people that you can actually have that with. And it's something we're trying to figure out how to support for members.
Absolutely. You need a tribe.
Yeah.
You know what worked for me in various organizations is that I look at them as the top of my social funnel, and then I just commit to spending actually years to find my people within that community. And I invest time and I invest effort to create a smaller tribe. But what's interesting is that doesn't mean that I lose interest in the community itself. Quite the opposite. I start appreciating it even more as I find close friends within that community becomes more important.
I love it.
And that's just kind of how it worked for me. If I look back at the last 15 years after my exit, when I started desperately looking for people, exactly as you mentioned. And what you seem to be thinking about now is that you will facilitate that process, right? Instead of me spending years filtering through an organization, you'll find ways to help me find these people faster.
That's
and
exactly
have that close group.
Yeah, the question is like, how can you...
It's super valuable.
Yeah, so basically all of our time now, PEF will continue to grow and people will hopefully continue to inspire each other, but like, we think about it as creating the almost intentional serendipity of it all around, like right now, the way that it works is you go to our conference chapter X and you meet people, or you go to your local meetup, or you're messaging on the Discord and you're connecting over a shared topic. But we increasingly think about how can we personalize and curate these relationships. And it should be both like you finding the people that you're seeking for your own, tribe, or connecting on a shared major challenge and experience to push through together, or just, having fun with folks. And so like we're doing a lot of different ways to try to bring those people together to be able to connect and find the people that give you energy. Because, at the end of the day, just because the other 5,000 members are exited founders doesn't mean that you want to be spending time with all of them. You start to figure out for yourself who are the ones that you actually enjoy.
I love the term intentional serendipity, because that's exactly what we need. Like, we don't want to just be intentional. We don't want a tight kind of dating network. We actually want to have sort of a general idea of what we want, but then have an opportunity, the space and time and energy for serendipity to happen.
I agree.
Because that's where magic happens. Without it, we can't go very far.
I completely agree. It's not easy to do in this world where people revert to online interactions versus offline in-person interactions. So we really try to also invest in the in-person opportunities to meet, because I think that's really where serendipity could thrive, because no matter how you're connecting online, you're distracted, you're not fully present, versus like when you're there with someone in person.
Yeah, and intentional serendipity is exactly what we need to find our new mission post-exit.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it later, because I want to spend a lot of time talking about finding a new mission with you, of all people. But before we do that, can we talk a bit deeper about what kind of people you want to attract? Because you said you're thinking a lot about it, and your thinking has evolved over time.
Yeah.
So as of today, what is your ideal PEF member?
Yeah, so I think we're really spoiled, right? Like I think like the exited founder persona is both the most interesting persona in the world, and I know we're both pretty heavily biased there, but like the opportunity to make an impact on whatever they choose to spend their time on. I don't think that there's a better persona in the world than exited founders who have had experience, have had some level of success, have a blank canvas to explore how they want to devote their energy and time into what problems. And so it is really impactful for me, for us, to be able to try to do our little part on shaping and paving the right road for these members. So that's kind of the first thing. So I think, from a baseline, exited founders tend to just have a persona that I think is amazing and energizing. And what it usually embodies, and what we really try to look for, is like, first and foremost, a give first mentality. There's something just really special about the give first persona. And I'd say most founders it's either innate or they build that, because in order to be successful in building something from nothing, at some point you start to realize that like you have this karma-based energy that you want to give in the world, and you've realized how you end up getting more as a result. And I think when you're post-exit and you have even more to give, you hopefully take that mindset of give first. But every once in a while, there's a member who will kind of jump in and share how they're trying to raise money for their new venture, or they're looking for X, Y, and Z, and that is the wrong mindset, right? If you just come into the community, into the space, you explore, you meet people, you find ways to give to others, you'll get way more in return, both in terms of whatever your goals are and also in general. So that's like one of the biggest things we look for, because it also drastically affects the community and the value of the community kind of coming together. The same thing is like this kindness, right? And this this level of empathetic listening. There's also the I guess the opposite of that empathetic listening is someone who they're usually lost in that post-exit identity, and so much of that identity is still like being ripped away and like kind of crumbling, where they try to solve for it by not listening, but speaking, talking about themselves and what they've accomplished and who they are. It's like, this is not the community for you, if that's what you're looking for.
Can I challenge your thinking?
Please.
And we talked about this before. I think your community is exactly for people like this, because they need it more than anybody else. It's your chance to help them become better people through the community. It's probably the biggest impact you can have. Not one of, just one of them, but still.
I think we're saying the same thing, but in different ways. So let me maybe rephrase what I was saying. So the first thing to note, what makes someone qualified to join post-exit the PEF community? You exited a company, financially exited a company that you founded and are no longer involved with, right? So that can be you sold it to you founded a company, so you can't be like an early employee or even like a founding employee. Otherwise, we filter you out.
Yeah.
You financially exited, so there was some sort of financial result of it, and you're no longer part of that company. Maybe you're at the acquirer, but you're not, running it standalone and exited via secondary. So that's what we really look for who qualifies, and there's a bunch of manual work to make sure people don't sneak in, but like that's what we look for. What I'm really describing is like, what is the persona of a valuable member that we want in the exit founder community? So does everyone that meet our criteria that join embody these traits? No. Do we aspire to have a community of people that embody those traits? Yes. And it goes back to what you were saying earlier, where there's like this contagious aspect of it when you're in this wider group community of folks as successful, if not more successful than you are. At some point, even if you take that persona, even if you take that persona of like someone who just wants to share everything that they've accomplished, they very soon realize that nobody really cares.
Yeah.
And that's actually part of that growth to get to empathetic listening. And so what I'm really describing in the traits is like, what do we look for in the kind of members that you want to be around?
Yeah.
And I think stating it out loud, the give first, the empathetic listening, the kindness, like these are traits that therefore, to your point of like the DNA, hopefully being part of it, like that's how you start bringing this ecosystem closer together and creating an environment that people feel energized to be part of.